What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Pixelus Podcast, the podcast about all the things we love and enjoy. As always, we're your hosts. I'm Will, that's Blake, and today we're here to talk a little Critical Role.
I cleared my throat during the intro and immediately thought, oh no.
I heard it.
So did all of you. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. I spoke to you a bit earlier today and told you I was tired, but since then I have consumed my full cup of coffee and I can feel it working its magic. So
Here in a couple hours, you'll be on to number 2.
Yeah, I will be. It's definitely a 2-cup day. It might be a 3-cup day. I don't know. I got a lot I need to accomplish today, and we got a holiday party for my girlfriend tonight.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's for your girlfriend? Is it like her? It's on her birthday.
No, like I just meant like it's her work's holiday party.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like throwing a holiday party for her.
No, sorry.
Like, yeah, it's kind of a big deal around here.
Yeah, let me tell you.
She expects a lot.
She's a menace. But no. So yeah, not that everyone needs to know our life story, but didn't sleep much last night, so got a lot to accomplish before that tonight. But yeah, I'm feeling good though. Coffee's working. How about yourself?
Good. I got up early. I feel like this is just like complaint session. I'm like, got up early, tired. Kids are crazy. No, I'm doing good. Yeah, we're going out of town tonight for my in-laws. They do their Christmas. I guess this would be like a week early, I guess.
Yeah, that is pretty early. When are you coming back? Is it just a weekend thing?
Yeah, on Monday. So like 4 to 5 day thing. So yeah, no, we're excited about it. It's kind of weird to like think about like starting the holidays already.
Yeah. Do you already get? I mean, I guess you already did your shopping for them at least.
I will do that.
We'll cut this in post.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I every year tell myself I'm gonna be on top of my shopping, and I have so much to do still. It stresses me out, honestly. But
yeah, I tried to do it early, and then I realized I was broke, and thought, well, this was
yep,
fun.
It's a struggle.
Yeah.
Good.
So and then there was like this one thing my wife asked me to get, so I kept delaying it because I didn't have any money, and then finally when I was going to get it, it was out of stock for the holidays. So I was like, we're just not going to get that.
What was it? Or is it?
It was like I got her. She's like really like big into organic things, and I got her this. It was like this. I don't know if I'm explaining it the right way, by the way, but like this organic like cream, or it was like. I'm butchering this, like wholesomely made. I don't know, like
okay,
it's everything's good about it, you know. Yeah. And she really liked it. I got it for her last year. And she loved it actually, and was like, "This is all I want. All I want is this again." And it came like in this little jar, and it was like a cream for like your hands. And I mean, she like scooped out every last bit of that. I mean, the jar is empty.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where like the jar is like this big and it's $30.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess they know their customers, right? But so I kept putting it off, and now they're out of stock. So I'm like,
the worst.
Dang. Yeah, I am.
I meant that's the worst, not you. maybe they'll restock before the holidays.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, last year when I ordered for them, it didn't come till like 3 weeks after Christmas. Oof. And they like sent like a big email about how like this will never happen again. Like, we're so sorry. And they actually like refunded it last year, which was kind of nice.
Yeah.
But this year, I guess they're being a lot better about like, we have none, so do not ask. So anyway, that's random details about my holiday shopping. So.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, y'all. We will be back next week.
Yeah.
Let you know how it went.
Other announcements, we got our watch party on Sunday nights. If you haven't ever checked it out before, we typically usually watch something CR related or D&D related. And lately for the holidays, though, we've been picking a holiday movie. So we've watched Die Hard so far. We've watched Jingle All the Way. Classics. And I think this Sunday we're watching Home Alone.
Yes.
Another classic movie.
The trifecta, in my opinion, those three.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'd love for you to join us. And then the following Sunday, which is Christmas Eve, we
Mhm.
will be watching The Night Before Christmas. So I mean, can it get any more
Mhm.
perfect than that?
Right.
So join the Discord, join us for that. And also tonight, 'cause at the time of recording this, it is Thursday. There will be a new Critical Role episodes. We will be having our typical watch party for that as well. So
Mhm.
would love to have you.
Yeah, and I had something valuable to add to that, and now I've forgotten what it was. But
Was it that everyone is welcome, regardless of a fandom level?
yes, everyone is welcome, which I think is surprising for some because some people are really excited about CR, and some people are more casual, and some people are a little bit insecure about their level of casualness. I'll just say, like, whatever question, the whole point of the Discord is, like, when we have our watch parties, or we do watch party with the live stream, like Will mentioned, you can ask questions, throw out your favorite theories. Honestly, we're trying to just make it better than Twitch chat.
Yeah, not hard
That's
to
not like,
do.
yeah, it's actually not like the explicit, like, we're trying to beat Twitch, but we just really love this as a hobby for our lives and want other people to enjoy it too.
Yeah.
And then I do remember I was going to say, on Fridays now we have a live stream
Mm.
at 1:00 Central Time. That is our Pixel Bits live show where we talk about D&D, Critical Role, DMing. Will and I have been DMs before, and we kind of just talk through all those things with you guys. So if you want to come to our live show and ask a question or hang out with us, that's every Friday at 1:00. It's just half an hour, so real quick. But
Yeah. So that will
that'll be
be
tomorrow.
tomorrow if you're watching this when we put it out. And yeah, last time we talked a lot of video games actually, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah,
was
because
fun.
Baldur's Gate had just won Game of the Year.
Yeah.
That's right.
So yeah, we'd love to have you guys. It's more of a like kind of impromptu. That's not the word I'm looking for. I don't know the word I'm looking for, but we just kind of go back and forth with those of you that show up in the chat. So we'd love to have you. This next one should be fun because we're going to be dialing in remote for the first time. So come watch us
'cause
be
I'll be out of town.
boomers with the technical difficulties. I'm sure I'm going to struggle.
Yeah. So I was at an event today where people were talking about millennials and Gen Zers. And I was like, hey, just so you guys can know, everything you're saying about us, people said about you when you were a kid.
Yeah.
But anyway, besides the point. So all right. Well, I think that's it, right? All the announcements.
Yeah, the Worlds Beyond Number, we're covering that show as well. I'm sure you guys are tired of us talking about it. That'll be coming out probably I don't know when, not this week. But yeah, there's one episode we have yet to cover on that, but then they're going on a little Christmas break. So we will obviously get that episode out before the next one comes back, and probably a good ways before that. But yeah, be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Well, before we jump into, or rather, as we start each episode for Critical Role, we like to do a little recap where we talk about what happened in the latest episode. And then what we like to do is we like to cut that out and put it up on YouTube as a separate video. So if you're watching just the recap, down in the description is a link to our whole video discussion. That's when we actually talk about our favorite theories, thoughts, and hashtag justice for Ashton. And we want to know what you think about the episode. So that's a great place for you to go to and leave a comment. Let us know what you think. But having said that, this was episode 79 of Campaign 3. To hurt is to heal, I think. Or to heal is to hurt. One of the two.
To hurt is to heal.
Yeah. To hurt is to heal. And this episode opens up sort of on the moments before this team building event is set to transpire. If you remember, they've gone to the Fey Realm, to the Ligament Manor, because of what happened underneath Whitestone with Ashton and Fern and the Shard of Raushan 2 episodes prior. And essentially, people are making some small talk. Chetney is sort of like thinking about the nature of the Ligament Manor and grandmother Mori, and can she grant wishes? And that leads to a conversation on like, well, what would you wish for? And he talks about, to be young again. And FCG really tries to ping him in the sense of like, well, why would you want to be young again? Would it be to spend time with Deanna? And he's like, well, no. And he's like, well, then why? and is very much like putting on sort of like his therapist hat of like, what's the point? Like, why would you want to be young again? Which I think is an important detail that'll come up in the back half of this episode. Meanwhile, there's a couple of other conversations that happen. First of all, Orem, who wasn't in the previous episode because Liam wasn't present, is going to pull Ashton away from the tiki bar in the Ligament Manor, and is going to basically say like, "Hey, let's take a walk. Let's have a conversation." Takes Ashton down to the area below the Ligament Manor, and is kind of like, Ashton, I was really freaked out by what happened yesterday, but and it's very much kind of like a, hey, I need you on your best. Like we have a lot that's about to happen. And he points out that, hey, no one's coming to save us. Like it's just us. So I need you as your best self. And, really sort of it was kind of like a tough love conversation, but more importantly, there was a lot of warmth from Orem that Ashton didn't necessarily get from other people in the group. So they had this great conversation. Ashton basically says like, yeah, I think I know what I want to say to try to kind of like make this right with the group. And then they returned back to the tiki bar. Separately, Fern goes and finds Birdie, who's at the Maury's collection room, and is like, hey, Morgan told me you have something you should probably tell me. And Birdie's like, I think I know what it is she wants me to tell you. And so they go on this walk. They go to like this garden courtyard where there's all like the frozen people in time, like kind of the petrified people, kind of horrifying to have this heart to heart.
Yeah.
And essentially Fern's mother reveals that Ollie is in fact not her dad, and that her father is actually the Sorrow Lord Zethuda of the Unseelie Court, who works directly for Seminar, one of the 5 archfays of the Feywild, and tells the story of a time when she was allured by dark impulses and originally had encountered Ollie and enjoyed tormenting Ollie, but it was then through Ollie that she discovered what love really meant. But at the time, she was with Zethuda, who basically brought Birdie to Exandria to give birth to Fern intentionally under the red light of Ruidus, to become a Ruidus born. Excuse me. And then after that happened, Birdie realized that this was more of like an intentional plan, and that Zethuda seemed to sort of lose interest in her and was much more keen to talk about Ludinus and the mages that were working with him, and sort of like this big deliberate plan, until finally Birdie effectively ran away and sort of gave up that life. So Morgan's comment on Fern being like her mother with this meeting with Tevin is a reference to her relationship to Zethuda, and that Zethuda knows that Fern exists, and that it's not and that Zethuda has tried in the past to retrieve Fern, but knows better than to invade on Morgan's domain. There's a couple of funny lines here about Birdie being like, me and Ollie are still your parents, and Ollie's still your dad. We're still the ones who raised you, even though he's not your dad. Kind of like your cliche line. And Fern's like, yeah, well, I mean, you weren't really around, but that's fine. Sure. Eventually they head back to the group. They get back to the tiki bar. They're asking Allura some questions about what does she know about Grandmother Morgan? Who's the Moonweaver? What do you know about Seminar and Zethuda? And Allura sort of gives like the classic NPC lore dump on, Seminar is one of the archfays and is mysterious and isn't quite involved. The Unseelie Court is kind of defined by violence and these other impulses, not necessarily evil, but a bit more chaotic. But then also gives a detail that Zethuda holds the blade Duskhunger of the Eternal Flame, I think, or of the Black Flame. Duskhunger of the Black Flame, I think. To which the party instantly is like, we have to get that sword. Like, no matter what, we have to get it.
Bring me that sword.
It's around this time that Morgan comes back with FCG, who she's been planning the team building with, and FCG's memory has been wiped, and is like, "It's going to be great. I don't remember what it is, but it's going to be good." And they agree that the three areas to discuss in this team building event is honesty, communication, and trust. And they will have three trials around these things, all around trying to restore what has happened to the team. Um, Morgan gives them some tea to initiate the beginning of this event, and then we go to break. So you want to take it from there?
Yes, sir. So we pick up with the second half with this first event taking place. And essentially what happens is Bell's Hells find themselves hurtling down this massive chasm. And the chasm is like sheer. The walls are like completely straight down, impossible to climb. And Morgan has thrown a monocle down in here as well. And she's like, find the monocle, bring it back up to the top. The catch being that the only way to climb back up is for the party to reveal truths about themselves. If they do, then parts of the sheer cliff will morph into climbable terrain, if you will. Matt does get pretty creative with it, but that's the gist of it. Okay, so for the sake of brevity, this was an amazing section. But for the sake of brevity, I'm just going to go through each of the truths that every character revealed during this segment. They do ultimately successfully retrieve the monocle and climb and bring it back to Morgan. But in the process of that, FCG says that they enjoy silver more than copper, a big reveal. But then they also say that they pity the rest of Bell's Hells because they have beating hearts and opportunities, but don't do enough with them. And also that deep down, they feel really good whenever they hurt or kill something. It helps them relax and relieve their stress. And finally, FCG reveals that they are worried that they might have put all their eggs in one basket with the Changebringer. And sorry if the Changebringer betrays them all. Next up, we have Imogen. And she says that she is genuinely scared to meet her mom again. She loves Laudna deeply, but is disgusted at the thought of Delilah basically watching the two of them all the time from, behind her eyes. She also says that she knows they're supposed to save the gods, but she's tried talking to various gods her whole life, and none of them ever responded. So that made her feel tainted, and she doesn't know if she wants to save gods that don't love her. And finally, she tells Fern that she was really disappointed in her for running away from the shard and running away from her power. Next up, we've got Chetney, who says that wood is better than metal. He also says that he fears that there's a dwindling interest in wood and wooden toys and that children will soon find them obsolete. And therefore, he fears he is becoming obsolete with each passing year that he grows older. And finally, Chetney may have the biggest bomb of them all in this section where he reveals some of his backstory. He says that he grew up in the Bramblewood outside of Western, and when he was a kid, he came back from learning to make toys and found that his whole family had abandoned him. All that were left behind were toys. They ran when Erevan the Rhyme Lord was running across the plains, and so he says he's afraid of dragons. And he says he has 5 siblings: Alabaster, Pepper, Sugarplum, Hermie, and Jad. And that he was so mad when they left that he never went and looked for any of them, and now they're probably all dead. So he thinks that any family he has is just going to ultimately leave him, and that's why he doesn't ever make attachments to people. Next up, we have Laudna. And she says that deep down inside, both Delilah and I kind of want the shard. She does say she wants Fern to have it, but just deep down, she no longer knows what are her feelings, opinions, and desires and what are Delilah's. And finally, she says that sometimes she fantasizes of just abandoning this quest to save the world and just living her own life. Next up, we have Orem, and he says that he is super lonely all of the time, especially at night. And it doesn't matter if he's bunking with one of Bell's Hells or not. He's still just incredibly lonely. Um, he also reveals that he laughs it off, but he does secretly wonder if Chetney is his dad. And he finally says, or excuse me, two more things. He says he loves all of Bell's Hells, but he has spent time thinking about how to neutralize each and every one of them if it were to come to it. And finally, he says he really misses Dorian, but sometimes he thinks that's okay, and sometimes he doesn't. Next up, we have Ashton, who says that, or he reveals, they reveal that they are the reason that Gianna Hexam robbery went sideways, and they're the reason why they got thrown out of the window, and they feel like they deserved getting left by the nobodies. Also, Ashton reveals that anytime it's too quiet, they start worrying about that one of them is going to kill another one of them accidentally, and that they've panicked thinking about what happens when that happens. And finally, Ashton admits that they feel worse about messing with Fern's life in the whole Shard debacle, more so than they are upset about what happened to themselves, and wishes that they would have died instead of hurting Fern. And finally, Fern reveals that she feels like they're very ill-equipped for this job of saving the world, and she thinks they're going to fail. And then she says that she does stuff to the rest of Bell's Hells while they're sleeping. Not weird stuff, just like to look at you and sometimes touch you. Nothing bad, she says. So after all those truths are revealed, successfully giving the monocle back to Morrigan, they complete the quest, and Morrigan actually gives them the monocle, which is a magical item that does not require attunement, but allows you to detect magic once a day, see invisibility twice a day, and use Arcane Eye once a day. Next, the group decides to do the test of communication. So Mori kind of spews out fog, and the next thing they know, Bell's Hells find themselves in this chamber where they can only see about like 100 feet in any direction. And in the center is a thunder wasp hive, and the wasps react to large sounds and panicking. Morrigan asks for 3 volunteers. Ashton, Imogen, and Chetney raise their hands, and then skin grows over their eyes, so they're blind. And Matt gives out blindfolds to each of Travis, Laura, and Taliesin. And so this was so much fun. So out of game, the players are wearing blindfolds, and Matt puts this board in front of them that has like a path that he has drawn out. And so each of those players that are blindfolded have to take a mini and guide it successfully down that exact path, using only the guidance that the non-blindfolded players give them. In universe, that player, in game, Chetney, is transported to like this other place with just this massive chasm on either side and just like the narrowest of paths he can walk, and he must walk to the end. So much fun. Chetney successfully navigates, because he's the one that does it first, mostly thanks to Liam and Sam's guidance. So the next round, when Laura goes, Matt describes Orem and FCG's mouths like growing over and being sewn shut, so they can no longer help. So Laura goes, and she is successful as well. And then after that round, Chetney and Laudna's mouths are sewn shut because they were the ones that guided her. So for Ashton, we just have Imogen and Fern left to guide them. Unfortunately, though, due to some poor rolls and some wasps, like I mentioned earlier, those came in when the party got too loud and basically made the DC more difficult. Ashton does unfortunately fail towards the very end and falls into the abyss. But since it is just like a test, he just appears back again, and Morrigan's like, sorry, you guys failed, but I'll give you one more chance. You can go one more time, but it'll be real. So like if you fall, you fall. And Orem volunteers to do this. And he's allowed to pick 2 people to guide him. And so he picks Chetney and Imogen. Matt also slams down an hourglass for this one. For the previous ones, there was no time limit, but for this one, there's 5 minutes. However, they're able to easily breeze through it in about 3.5 minutes with no setbacks. So they are successful in this trial of communication. And Mori gives them a magical Scarf of Intrusive Intent, which lets you cast Suggestion once a day, Magic Mouth twice a day, and Fear once a day. Also, no attunement. So, for the final test, they are once again surrounded by fog, and they find themselves like deep in the Fey Forest. And Mori says, you must learn to trust one another. This is the trial of trust. There are 3 altars somewhere in the surrounding forest, and on each is an ivory branch. Just get that and bring it back to me and lay it in this central well here. That's it. And they're like, okay. But she's like, here's the catch. And 2 doppelgangers walk up. And she says, these doppelgangers have been studying you this whole time. They know you in and out. You're going to have to figure out which 2 of you are going to be replaced by the doppelgangers before they ruin the game. And that's where the episode ends. Again, that was episode 79. To hurt is to heal. And,
Great job, man.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot. But once again, our recap, if you're on that video and you want to hear our full thoughts, it will be linked down in the description below.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. Fun episode, man. Like, I loved this. Felt very classic D&D to me, which I've said that before, but like the blindfolds and like working on the battle map, like that's very like
Yes.
that's very in-house D&D. Like you're working some with your hands, you have little trinkets or like
Yes.
something to manipulate in some way. So I love how Matt did that. And you know, it was just it just, like I said, it was just kind of like classic D&D.
Yeah, and I think one of my favorite episodes of Campaign 3 so far, because we got some amazing RP and lore kind of reveals in that honesty trial, and then peak D&D in the communication trial. I don't know the next time I will DM, but like I'm stealing that. You know, maybe not like verbatim that exact situation, but like stealing the blindfold in the communication thing, because you could just tell how much fun they were having. And it was infectious. Like I was having a great time. So yeah, absolutely loved it. I love that Matt, you know, is still doing stuff to kind of keep them on their toes. You know, by throwing new and unexpected things at them. And I was also very excited to see the return of the hourglass. It's been a long time since he's thrown that thing down.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah, he used to do it. I mean, not like all the time by any means, but I can't even remember the last time he did it before this. But yeah, it just kind of makes it kind of makes the tension that much higher, you know, because you're like, oh, we gotta go.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I keep muting and unmuting because my dog's going crazy. Yeah, I was thinking about a joke of like every session, like, and here's the hourglass. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop.
What do you want to order at the tavern?
Yeah. No, it's fun, man, and yeah, it's fun. Like these little like ideas and games that you're like, oh, I'm gonna do that for my campaign. Unfortunately, for one of my campaigns, a couple of players watch Critical Role, so like I can't
You
do
could
it.
still do it.
But
I mean, you could still steal that. I mean, I think that would just be fun.
yeah. I will say, I said last time I thought the truth about Fern was going to be a detail I was thinking of for one of my players, and I was going to think they thought that I stole it, but
Mhm.
it turned out it went a whole different direction.
Mm.
So the idea is saved. Still
Nice.
can't talk about it because I know they also watch the Pixelist.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I see you. You're not getting anything out of me.
Keep your secrets.
Yeah.
Um,
So anyway, but yeah, fun session, fun hands-on stuff. I'm very curious what the trust piece is going to be. It felt like kind of like Mafia, I guess, or they said werewolves.
Yeah.
It's like Among Us, right? Like some
Yeah.
kind of like game like that, I guess. So I'm really curious, like the mechanics of that and how they'll kind of navigate it.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. Matt kind of, I mean, he didn't go in depth or anything, but I think he at least revealed that he's basically going to hand out cards.
Right.
And
It's like,
2
you
of
are the
those
killer,
cards will
or
say like
doppelganger.
you're the
Yeah.
doppelganger, and I believe it'll have some like objectives for them.
Yeah. Which is really fun.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great, especially with this table. At certain table, I don't think you could do this with any table, because I think a lot of people will be tempted to metagame and be like, well, I'm the doppelganger, but I want Bell's Hells to win so that we, you know, do the trial, like we get this magic item and we complete the trial. but I don't think that's going to be an issue with them. I think whoever the
Yeah,
doppelgangers are going to go hard trying
I
to
think you're
like
right.
ruin it.
Yeah, this table does such a good job for not metagaming in the sense of, I think back to when they were at the museum in can't think of what the place was called, but they were doing like the museum heist.
Yeah.
And Travis knew the room he was walking into had traps, but instead of being like, I'd be really suspicious,
Yeah.
and he was just like, what? And then like purposely ran into the trap. Like, that's really fun. I had a player yesterday who did an insight check on someone and they rolled like a 4. And I was like, you feel pretty good about it? And he was like, all right, but I want to tell people I don't feel confident about my answer. And I was like, with the 4, you feel great about it. Like you feel great. And he was like, but I still feel nervous because it wasn't a good roll. And I was like,
nope.
Yeah,
you don't.
Yeah, you've never been more certain in your life that yeah. But yeah, I like how Chetney did that. And so, I think that would apply for anyone at this table, whoever the person, the doppelganger ends up being. I think you're right that it's going to be fully embracing the chaos of it, just to make a really fun session for everybody.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that next one play out. I'm really curious to who's going to be the doppelganger. Which, this is dumb to say, but we won't know either. I'm sure the audience will be in the dark as well, so it'll be fun trying to guess who it might be while it's going on.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish I could watch it live tonight. That's so great.
It will be fun, I hope. And then I think in the weekly scheduling like post that they put out, where they like Thursday new episode of Critical Role, I think they mentioned that they return from the Feywild. So maybe that happens at the very end of the episode for all I know, but I could see like first half being that, and then second half maybe coming back, and I don't think we'll get to the moon, but like that's next up on the plate, I assume. So
yeah, I could see them like heading out to the excavation site, which I think you're going to get teleported there, right?
Yeah, I think so. From Allura.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's. I guess I'm surprised they're coming back, because I actually wondered if there'd be like some hijinks with the Unseelie Court and the Sorrow Lord, which I guess it would have been a bit forceful to be like, hey, can we go check this out? But I did wonder if that would happen. Which, what a great callback. It's funny, like as a DM, when you create like connections that like back then were like, oh, the Sorrow Lord Zethуда, like this is crazy. And then who was Dusk? Was Dusk talking to Zethуда, or was it directly to Seminar?
It was Zethуда.
Okay, yeah. When it was like Seminar grows impatient, whatever. Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I guess. Or go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm sure it was fun for Matt to like have these details and be like, "It's your dad."
Yep. Gotcha. Yeah, totally. I thought that was a really cool. I thought that was a really cool answer for who her dad was, because as we've been speculating on, could it be a devil? So I liked that a lot. I thought that was very interesting, and it's a good place to park for a bit, because I feel like it doesn't give us the answers, but it kind of fills in some blanks on a lot of things we've been wondering about with Fern this whole time. There's some like construction going on. Hopefully that's not coming through the mic. But so one, we finally know why the concrete reason of why she was left with Morgan. It was to protect. It wasn't because they stole. I mean, maybe to some extent it was because they stole the Moontide crown, but really it was because of who her dad was, and this is like the one place he can't get to her. So I thought that was really interesting, and like what a dick move to be like Morgan to be like, hey, I got your kid, you can't come here. But I'm still curious, like what Morgan was offered, but I think it was Fern, like because Morgan always says she's mine, because clearly even if Morgan likes what's it, Birdie I think is her Fern's mom name. I think even if that is the case, clearly there was a deal made to protect Fern. But again, I think it's because she is Morgan's, given how she always refers to her in that way. But I wonder like what that means. And maybe it doesn't mean anything, that will get explored in this campaign. Maybe it doesn't even mean anything, period. But I am curious if there's like any strings we aren't aware of that are attached to that situation.
Yeah, and we're not really clear on what do you do here? What exactly is your job? But the Fate Weaver, and like she mentioned Fern, like there being like something special about Fern and Fern's path. And
Yeah.
so I don't know if it's just the collector in Mori that like here's the daughter who's a Ruidus born of the Sorrow Lord, like this is a really cool thing to have.
Yeah.
Or if it's more the former of like, I should probably hold on to you for a bit. Like this could, not necessarily like black and white, this could be bad or good, but like, I'm more keen to keep you. I do think we theorized a long time ago that maybe it wasn't so black and white, that she was doing a favor for Birdie and Ollie, and that it was actually in her own interest.
Yeah.
And I feel like that it's pretty fair to say that's confirmed.
Yeah.
That it was more about Fern than it really was about Birdie and Ollie. So yeah, I mean, there's still a big question mark on Fern for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right though. I think it is Morgan wanted that for her collection because we know she collects oddities like that, and even the Ruidus born and stuff aside, the way she is like uniquely moving through the threads of fate that Morgan likes to play with. So I think you're totally right with that. Like she wanted to just add Fern as her thing. But yeah, so also just Fern. We know she's unique in this way through the threads. We've known she was Ruidus born this whole time, but now I'm just some pieces are starting to come together because she was like created in a way, like not like in a lab, but like there was intentionality behind her birth from Zethuda's side of things. And we also know that the Unseelie Court has their own plans for this solstice, because dating back to a conversation, I don't remember what episode it was, but when Odahan was meeting with them, she even says like, this is not verbatim, but essentially like Ludinus is a pawn. Like we don't care what he does. Like we'll dispose of him if we need to, type of comment, which is kind of crazy in retrospect. But now, like, because he's like the linchpin of this whole thing, right? But it's just so it's interesting to me that whatever machinations the Unseelie have going on are kind of, I think they need Ludinus clearly because he's the one unleashing Predathos, if I can put it in that simple box. But beyond that, like that's all they need him for. So like I'm curious, like what they're trying to do with that situation then.
Yeah, and it would almost kind of be like a big question mark if this campaign ends without the Unseelie Court being looped in again in some way, because you do kind of wonder like what is their prerogative, what is their plan. Fern's existence is clearly a piece of it, maybe not the piece, but is a piece of it.
Yeah.
The Moontide Crown, which I guess they kind of sort of forgot about Dust coming back in 30 days, but I'm very curious how their intentions are going to intersect with what Ludinus is trying to do.
Yeah.
And it could become like an enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of deal. Like they go to the moon and they're I thought Fern had a great comment on like, hey, we're really ill-equipped for this, which I feel like we've been saying this whole campaign, like they are screwed. I in my campaign recently, the party's level 2, and I mentioned this creature coming to the town called a Solemn Night, and they were like, we're level 2, like we have to get out of here. And like I feel like that's what we've been saying the whole campaign is like there's such a disparity here. Point being, I wonder if the Unseelie Court would show up on the moon or be involved in some way. I don't know. So it's very like it's such a stupid reference, but very Call of Duty Modern Warfare-esque when like Makarov offers to help you like take down the general. I think in Modern Warfare 2 or 3. It's like the most abstract reference, but I think the mission's called "The Enemy of My Enemy is My Friend" or something. But
Yeah,
there you go.
I can't remember that specifically, but I vaguely kind of remember.
Yeah, it's sad that I do, but
The I could see, so like I could see like enemy of my enemy, I could see something coming into play there, but at least not yet, because I do think their goals are aligned. Ludinus and Unseely's goals are aligned, at least so far in getting rid of the gods.
right.
Which is interesting. So like my guess here is that they clearly want it for different reasons. If we can take Ludinus at his word, which for the sake of this we're going to, Ludinus just wants the gods gone. For my money, the Unseelie want to replace them. I think that because we know that Saminar hates the Moonweaver, so he's trying to get rid of her and maybe ascend himself. Maybe not to like that position exactly, but like I feel like there's like a jealousy of power there.
Yeah, and I think Allura said something around like they want like the power vacuum or something like that.
Yeah, and there was some comment about, I think during the Odahan Zathuda conversation, about like you will be like forgiven when the Moonweaver is gone or something like that. So it's just super interesting for a couple of reasons. One, I kind of fell into the simplistic trap of Ludinus, bad guy. Like we got to deal with him. But like, let's say that Ludinus is successful in dealing with Predathos. Like that happens, and then but the gang takes him out, and now it's like, well, the gods, whatever. That's kind of in their hands now, their problem. But we dealt with Ludinus, right? There's so many other factions that are probably already working to utilize this, Unseelie being one of them. Like who knows however many other like very, very powerful factions or entities are just like waiting for this moment to jump on it. Like Ludinus could be like, if he truly is just about like evening the playing field, like might be the least of everyone's worries after the fuse gets lit, So it was just interesting to think about. But all that, but the thing I'm really curious about is what's Fern's purpose here? Because we know she was, again, I'm going to use the word created just for simplicity, but we know she was like created for a purpose. We know that based on what Ludinus said in that episode, I think in Eos a long time ago, or maybe it wasn't Ludinus, but at some point we found out that like Fern is like a little bit Rudisborn compared to Imogen. What's the word? There's like a special word.
Exalted.
Exalted. Yeah, Fern was not an exalted. Or exalted, I think. Yeah.
Exaltant. Yeah.
Which is just very curious to me, because that you would think that like if she was built for this purpose, she would be like the highest form of it.
Well, maybe it's because they sort of cheated. Like Imogen was organically born under the Rudisborn for simplicity, and right. Fern, I mean, they sort of manipulated like making sure she was born. I mean, I don't say they control time, but they might have. Yeah, I mean, maybe it was like, okay, we're gonna make sure she's born on this evening so that she can be Rudisborn. So maybe she's like a cheaper form of a Rudisborn because they cheated. They
Diet
cheated to make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be why. Yeah. But I do wonder what you're saying, like to what end? Like it seems like their plan's continuing without her present. So what was the mechanism behind this?
Yeah, I like what you said about controlling time, because with the Feywild time, because they brought her to the prime material plane to be born, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like they could have literally, with a powerful enough Archfey, like we're seeing with Morrigan controlling Bell's Hells going to and fro, Saminar, or maybe Zathuda himself is powerful enough to like, we're going to exit the Feywild on this day because I can make it line up to where it'll be a Rudis eclipse or whatever the case is. It's really fascinating. But yeah, why? It seems like it has something to do with clearly the whole Predathos situation, and maybe ascending after the gods are wiped away or something. Could she have even been a key for the Malleus key? No, I don't think so, because there's nothing divine about her
Mm.
necessarily. I just lost my train of thought. Dang it.
Well, we know there is something special about her because of
Mhm.
the I think
Oh,
the dark fern image we got of her,
yes.
and
Okay, yeah,
there's
that's. Or sorry, go ahead.
like, go ahead.
That's where I was going. Is that like it seems like she has been created for a purpose, maybe to like fill a seat, because like we saw Dark Fern, which I think now knowing all the things we know, that is probably like what they want. Like what Zasthuda's plan for Fern is probably that, whatever that is.
Mhm.
Um, and so like I wonder if there's like some new. I can never say this word when I try to. Hierarchy, is that right?
Hierarchy, yeah.
Hierarchy. If there's some new like hierarchy of power they're trying to like establish with like specifically Fae or specific bloodlines even, and like Fern is like her rightful place in this new world is Dark Fern to
Mm.
fulfill whatever role that they have in their minds. Like maybe it's something like that.
What was the
Um,
bad guy in EXU trying to do again? Like
which one?
the main
Posca?
villain? No, the one at the very end who took Ted and like turned it into like an abomination or something. Like, because like the
um,
reason I'm bringing it up is they originally interacted with Fern, looking at like the Fey magic around that portal, and there was like something about it that I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching, I guess. I'm trying to remember like even that whole storyline.
yeah,
But
yeah. I'm
anyway,
I'm I'm dusty on it. I don't remember now. Yeah.
anywho,
Hmm.
I guess I'm wondering if Fern, if there was any detail there, but I also wonder. I guess I think this is a little bit unfair because I think in some ways it's like here are the plot threads that happen in EXU. Now, how do we pull them in to be part of the story a little bit? But continuing to do that, why did Morrigan want Fern to go to Exandria regarding?
Mm.
Wasn't there like a mission she was on,
Mm-hmm.
like
I
regarding like the crater, or
well,
well, she
I
had the
haven't.
lens too, but
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, but it's been so like I haven't watched EXU since you and I watched it. So
Mm.
been what, how many years now? So I could be completely wrong, but I thought the reveal was the lens.
Yeah, okay,
But that
yeah,
that could have just been a misdirect even,
yeah.
especially given everything else we know. But
But we know Morgan like manipulated her memories too.
yeah, that's what I still don't know if there's, and maybe there has, but I still don't know if there's been like a clear answer as to why.
Yeah, okay.
And again, for anybody that didn't watch EXU or doesn't remember, and I might be butchering this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a moment where Fern rolls like a natural 20 insight or something, and she realizes that this memory she has of like walking with her grandmother through the portal to the prime material plane is false.
Right. Yeah.
And or was that the real memory and another
I think
memory
I
was
think that was
false?
the real memory.
Okay.
But Abria described it in a really cool way. Yeah, okay. And
In
then Sarda,
whatever the case was, her memory was modified for some reason around that moment. Um, it could be something as simple as maybe Fern found out the truth about her parents, and like Morgan's like, nope, let me erase that real quick.
yeah.
That would be slightly less satisfying, but it
Your
could be
dad's
something like
your
that.
dad's Zathuda came by again today.
Yeah.
What? Uh
Oops.
never mind. Have this tea.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah,
I do, and in kind of like a darker way, you do kind of wonder. Fern seems to adore Maury and is fully trusting of Maury,
yeah.
and I almost kind of wonder how much of that is authentic and how much of that is kind of the machinations of Morrigan. Like she has full control of her memory,
Ooh. Yeah.
so I don't think like Maury is like this fully, evil whatever, but seems to have like a very powerful individual. And I guess now we're talking in circles, just that, I don't think it's so much for Fern's benefit as it is for Maury's benefit, or maybe Maury's delight in having this object, for lack of better phrasing, in her collection.
Yeah. I certainly think Morgan had selfish intentionality, but I will say that I think while that's certainly where it started, I do think that like she genuinely cares for Fern.
Yeah, I think so too.
I don't think. I mean, she doesn't need to be doing what she's doing for them right now. Nor did she need to like go fight Zethuda and get pretty badly injured.
Right.
But I think both things can be true. I think like Fern could definitely have had a lot of manipulation over the years and maybe even false memories. But I do think there's a genuine love from Morgan to Fern. And I want to say it's from Fern to Morgan too, but I guess we don't know how much modification there was. But
how much Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, true.
So, well, just in the interest of time, we're coming up to an hour on this app. I want to talk about the truths that were shared.
Yes, me too.
In their first exercise.
There is one more thing I wanted to talk about, just real like a moment cap to this whole Fern stuff. One thing I thought was really interesting is that in the episode with you, when she's talking to Zethuda, she said like she's giving an update on the Calloway mission, and she's like, they have a daughter. So like that wasn't a known quantity. Now maybe you is not like high enough in the ranks to have known, but the fact that just some people didn't know makes me wonder, okay, like was this a solo Zethuda plan? Like just his own machinations that no one else knows about? Because he also didn't react to that information. He didn't say like, yeah, that's my daughter, like he definitely played that coy, which I don't have much to say about it, but I just thought that in and of itself was very interesting.
Well, and maybe presumably didn't mention that they had a daughter because he didn't want you to kill the whole family, i.e. his daughter.
Right, but you might, if that is the intention, you might want to just be safe, because if she comes up on 3 people, she's just going to kill all 3, right? So you might be like, hey, don't I think kill the young one.
Yeah,
don't
I think
ask why.
I think it might be what you're saying. Like maybe this is less like a master plan that Fern's like the linchpin of for the Unseelie Court, and more like something Zethuda did on the side. And hey, we got a pretty big plan going here. Let's make sure we don't like intentionally have any children under the brood is born during this time. He's like, no problems here. I wouldn't do that. So that would maybe make more sense. Like, oh, there's a kid. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
But
good
connection though.
Yeah, I think, and no way of knowing, but for me, it's like an intentional thing he's keeping secret for his own machinations. Which I wonder if it's even like somehow involved in, because I mean he's under Saminar, right? Maybe he doesn't want to be. So maybe Fern is about like some sort of power play to even usurp, like him be the top of the food chain.
Or maybe it's a backup plan. Like, hey, if this plan all goes to crap and Predathos is freed and wants to like devour everything, like, it's like the Billy Zane in the Titanic. Like, I got this kid. Like,
she's one of yours. She's one of yours.
So, I'm all she has in this world. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You should listen to your friend Zane. He's a cool dude. So anyway.
But yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the last thing. So now we can go back to what you were going to.
Whatever happened to Billy Zane?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
He's still around?
Yeah, I think so. All right. Yeah. I don't necessarily like have like a certain truth I want to park on. I did think it was really interesting, like hearing some things that like we kind of thought about. Like I thought it was interesting, Orym talking about his contingency plan for neutralizing each person, where I had always thought that was mostly, we had seen a glimpse of that with Imogen.
Right.
It was interesting that he's thought it through for everybody.
Yeah.
So, and understandably so, but
Yeah, I really like that. And just Orm's was, I mean, they were all kind of heartbreaking. I don't know who I would pick for to be the most, but
Yeah, I think Laudna was like, "Does anyone have any truths that are
that
happy?"
happy, yeah.
Yeah,
But just being lonely all the time, no matter what,
yeah,
it's
that
just
was
so
hard.
sad. And then, I mean, pretty much confirmed that he is crushing on Dorian, I think, with
No, man, they're just great. What are you
that
talking about?
that one reveal,
They're just
which
great friends.
yeah, just besties.
Just misses his buddy.
Which we still don't know. I mean, I think it's probably fair to say that that is then
Sorry.
who Robbie was referring to as well, because
Right.
Robbie in one of the talkbacks said that he had a crush, but he didn't reveal who it was. I mean, it doesn't mean it has to be Orem, but I feel like that makes it a little bit more likely.
Mhm.
Okay, but there's a couple of truths that I did want to specifically park on, but you move us off base or whatever.
Okay.
But first was FCG and the whole this isn't really anything like, it was not a revelation, but it was cool to kind of get confirmation that he enjoys the violence. You know, like it
Yeah.
relaxes.
He basically said, "I like hurting people."
Yeah, essentially,
You know.
which I think is makes sense and is like a cool character choice because you they were created for violence. You know, so like they're kind of like
Right.
fulfilling their purpose. But the way Sam worded it in that like it relieves stress, I feel like that's a hard confirmation that like these stress points that we know he's been dealing with all campaign, that's how he gets rid
Mhm.
of them by
Right.
by killing people or hurting people.
Right.
Um, which is just so cool. I can't wait to like find out the ins and outs of these mechanics. Because on one hand we know he gets, I don't know the word for it, but like inspiration from when other people around him like are rolling nat
Mhm.
20s and stuff. So like there's that side of the dichotomy, and then the other side of like murdering people. So like the highs and the lows. I just thought it was cool. Uh,
Yeah, and I wonder like where we're gonna get more context for him too. Like, are we gonna find like an old Age of Arcanum? Actually, I guess it was pre Age of Arcanum actually in hindsight. But I wonder what kind of technology is going to be on the moon and like kind of how we loop his story back in because
yeah,
there's still a big question mark about him too.
for sure. I
With
mean,
some things. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I don't think the answer has to be found
Mm-hmm.
this way, but I think a possibility could just be through Ludinus since he's also that old, and we've seen
Mm-hmm.
automatons being used at the
Right.
excavation site and stuff. So I could see Ludinus by some tangential connection, like having other aormatons even maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's more answers from D at a later point where they have more space to
Right.
explore those things. But yeah, I'm certainly feasting for some more info there, and especially not that it's even related, but especially also from Frida. That whole mystery is still ringing around in my head with like the boy, and you know that
Yeah.
moment of the Factorum Malleus like getting
Yeah.
stormed.
Yeah. Right.
Very curious about all that. So I do hope we get some information from that time. Um, okay, moving down the list a little
And that
bit.
that specific
Oh, yeah,
memory
go ahead.
was the fall of Aor, right?
I think so, and I could
Okay.
be wrong, but I think it was the moment like the city, like because they created the Factorum Malleus, which was like the weapon against the gods, and I think parts of the city were like, "Bro, the gods are gonna kill us because you made this thing." Like, and so they like were infighting, but then ultimately we know, or at least we've been told that the gods are the ones that brought it down.
Right. Okay.
So I
That's
think
right.
that's what was happening. Um, Imogen wasn't anything like really mind blowing there, other than that, you know, the whole disgusted part. I'm sure that like stung Ladna a lot, even though it's not her fault.
Yeah.
Chetney's a big one, but I kind of want to do that one last.
Okay.
Orm we talked about. Ashton, thought it was interesting that we kind of found out that they were the reason that robbery went sideways.
Yeah.
Not that that's like an ultra important reveal or mystery that we still need to uncover, but it was something in the back of my mind, like what went wrong that night. I thought it
Yeah.
was just like circumstance, you know, like
Yeah.
something happened, it went sideways, and Ashton unfortunately is the one that got left behind. But
Yeah.
so I'm curious is Ashton really the reason, or is that just kind of the self-imposed, like, I deserved this,
Right.
it was my fault? Because if they really are the reason, I'm curious, like, what actually happened, you know? So I thought that was interesting. And then
Fern, what was
Fern
hers again?
Fern didn't really have anything juicy, just that like she thought they were going to fail. They were
Well,
ill-equipped, and then that
and the touching.
yeah,
The looking
watches
and
them while
touching
they
part.
sleep.
That'll be a good inside joke, I feel like.
Yeah.
She kept, I loved a lot of being like, hey, you said it, and now you're being kind of defensive about it. So
that was really funny.
It was really
Nothing
good.
Bad.
Yeah. I just touch you a little bit.
Just touch you a little bit, just watch you while you're sleeping.
Can you stop saying it? I don't know about you guys, but I knew someone in high school who like watched someone else while they were sleeping, and there was nothing redeemable about it. I'm not going to say the name.
Just give me like an initial.
I'm not.
Wait, why not?
I'll tell you. I'll talk to you after.
Okay, I'm curious.
I just thought there is nothing redeemable about this. This is the weirdest, creepiest thing I've ever heard.
Creepy.
Yeah, there's just nothing redeemable about it. So I know it was said like in jest and like joking, but it's also like, haha. Hey, that's also really weird.
Yeah,
like you should think about that.
you should examine that a bit.
Yeah.
But moving to Laudna.
Yeah.
I just thought, I mean, this wasn't something that was like a revelation to us, but her kind of admitting that like she doesn't know what are her thoughts of Delilah's anymore.
Yeah.
Pretty scary thought. And admitting that like she wanted the shard. Which not that we need to like dive into this, but it seems like Fern's gonna get it, I would imagine.
I don't know. I'm kind of annoyed at this whole thing because I don't have a problem with Fern taking it, but I also didn't like Imogen being like, hey, I was disappointed. Like Fern doesn't have a connection to the shard in any way. So like her just being like, I don't want it. Like I kind of get like you're saying you don't want it, but you kind of do because you're afraid of your past or what could happen to you. And, so, hey, I'm going to be honest with you. You should really take it. Like I get that line of thinking, but I also, it also feels a little heavy handed of like, it's Fern's. Like we all know it's Fern's, but like Fern's like, I don't want it. I'm not. So like, and it's not so much a complaint as it is like, if Laudna wants it, I'm okay with Laudna taking it. Like I don't feel like Fern's name tags on it. Like
no, Laudna should not take it, bro. You're trying to give Delilah the shard.
I want to see what happens. Like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Delilah wants the gods protected. Like, yeah, sure.
Does she? Maybe she's saying that, but she wants to take Vecna's place.
Maybe. So we're on the same page that Laudna should take it. It sounds like
definitely. I think Chetney should take it.
Yeah.
Fire werewolf. Let's go.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I guess a better way to put it would be like, I'm okay if Fern doesn't like it. I think you're right. I think this is going to end up in Fern's hands. Like they're going to get to a situation where Fern's like, okay, but I do think it's a little clunky. Like, yeah, this is Fern's quest item. And like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. They've all played together for so long. Like maybe it's just like, clear and present. Like, yeah, this is really like a Fern thing. So I don't know.
That being said, I could see it going elsewhere, but I think it probably
Ashton,
will go to her.
No,
probably not Ashton.
What if Taliesin was like,
tries to do it again?
Are y'all cool if I? I did like the thing. There was a line about them talking about Fern taking it or something, and it was like around like maybe Fern's backstory, and then Ashton was like, this was the same line of thinking I had, but but it's okay, it's cool. So, yeah.
Okay, I think just Chetney now. Which
I started to watch your video on Erevan, and I thought I should probably watch the episode before I watch this.
Oh yeah.
So
well, it wouldn't have been too big of a big deal, but yeah. So wait, did you watch it?
No, I turned it off.
Okay.
I have this love-hate relationship with spoilers where I
yeah, that one actually, it wouldn't have been that bad if you watched that one. But so Chetney, we found out kind of his backstory. I love Chetney, man. One of my favorites. You still hate him because of?
Yeah, you did a whole video. Yeah, it wasn't that genius. Okay, so come on,
I thought it was great.
Travis. Woo, we love you. Sure.
Uh, but so just to I guess I did it in the recap, but again, just to fill everybody in, he used to be from the Bramblewood outside of Western, and his whole family abandoned him around the same time that Erebon, the Rime Lord, was wreaking havoc. And that's why he doesn't make connections, because he has abandonment issues.
Is that one of the from the Chroma Conclave? Is that one of the dragons?
So no, okay, yeah. So since you didn't watch the video, this is why it's confusing. Because he says that, and then he says, "And I'm afraid of dragons because of it." Erebon is not a dragon. If you guys want the full story, watch my video. Plug.
I could see how that would be confusing.
Yeah.
You talk about like, Barney terrified. I had nightmares, and that's why I'm afraid of cats.
Yeah.
You'd be like.
I think it was just like an accidental slip on Travis's part. But there is a dragon involved here. So Erebon is like a I don't think he's a primordial titan, but I don't know. But he's like a very powerful like ice elemental, like a supremely powerful one from the elemental plane, from the elemental planes. So, but there's a dragon, a young white, or not young, but a dragon called the Sky Sunder that was like Erebon's herald. So like Sky Sunder was this white dragon that would go like scouting for Erebon and stuff. So they kind of worked in tandem. So that's probably Erebon was wreaking havoc. So was this dragon Sky Sunder, who like they're like kind of connected. So I think that's what Chetney meant.
Is this it would be a Vox Machina storyline? Was this just like in part of Exandrian lore? Like, is that how you know about it? Or
yeah, it's part of the lore. So this would have been pre-Vox Machina when the Chime Tetany's talking about. Because I mean, this was like
200
long time ago, like 300 years ago.
Okay.
Like this is like right after it started being called Tal'Dorei. Like it was Guisar. And then it became Tal'Dorei, and this is like right when Erebon's stuff started popping off. They actually used the Celestial Solstice for him to come from the elemental planes to the Prime plane. So yeah, this Chetney's old, man. But so yeah, I again, slightly more context in on that whole story if you want it in that other video. But since we're wrapping things up, I don't want to get too in the weeds on it. But that's why Winter's Crest, which is like the kind of Christmas-esque holiday in Exandria, it's from this whole story, because when Erebon was pushed back into the elemental planes, the celebration of that is Winter's Crest.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. But so Chetney being abandoned, I mean, it felt like, I mean, he clearly was abandoned, but at the same time, it sort of felt like a situation where like maybe his family had to flee. Like he was away somewhere else. So like,
yeah,
my personal feelings on the matter are he wasn't just straight up abandoned. It was kind of like, this sucks. We need to figure out how to tell our son that we have to leave. So it might be kind of like a heartbreaking story in the sense that like he really wasn't abandoned, but he was so mad that they left. Like he said, he never went and looked for them. So like he never got to find that out.
And they may never have known he was even alive either.
Right. I mean, I'm assuming they probably had to presume he was dead as well.
Yeah. I guess they could have left a note. Like
that's why you always leave a note.
Hey, we kind of have to leave because of this big elemental. So
True.
we'll be in this town.
True. Maybe they did. Maybe it got lost. I mean, who knows? But yeah, I loved that, as an explanation for a lot of the facets of Chetney that we've seen. There's a million examples to list about what, how he's always so cagey about settling down and why that's not like important to him and yada, yada, yada. I don't want to dive into this moment again, but I also liked, and I think the video you're referring to earlier is how this knowledge kind of colors that leave scene with Ashton even more. Cause I feel like, for me, it was Chetney like trying to avoid the same emotional trauma that he's faced his whole life. Like I'm going to tell you to leave before you can leave me type of thing. So yeah,
I'm not disagreeing. I agree with you, but I think even on a related note, like, it was just so brilliant in my head. And now that I'm trying to find the words, I have nothing to say about it. Actually, I
No,
can't remember even what I was going to say.
oh,
It was
well,
something like, it was something like, what did you say? Like he didn't want to be left.
yeah, like I think it was in
Um,
part like a defense mechanism. Like
yeah,
the group was kind
yeah,
of falling
right.
apart, you know, like before you leave me, I'm going to tell you to leave.
Yeah. Oh, and I was going to say just that even if he wasn't like making a calculated decision, he was probably making a habitual one. Like I'm
Right.
just so this is so natural to me that
Yeah.
like he reacted in a way of like this is what I'm not saying that it wasn't intentional, and because we even had him say like I wanted to see if he would stick around, but you know he probably just is so conscious of that being an out for people
Mm.
that you know that's just where he kind of just naturally went to.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I'd agree with that.
back when he was being too harsh to Ashton. Yeah. It's like 30 episodes later, you're like, you really need to let this go, man.
And I mean, just for the record, I agreed that it was harsh. Just for the record.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not even saying that's like the right thing to do in that situation. I just thought it was amazing RP wise.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, I think that was everything in the truths, unless you had
Yeah.
anything else.
No, just saying again for the second communication piece. Again, I think it's just a good DM lesson. Like a lot of times, what people remember most is like when you use their senses.
Yeah.
So like, you know, think about if your party goes to like a famous chef finally they've heard about, and then you have like you've actually like baked some cookies or something. Like
Totally.
little things like that can really make a deep impression on your players. And I just think I just love how Matt designed this this activity, and I think it's just a really great showing of good DMing. I'm very excited for the next one too.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I agree completely. I thought this was an amazing showcase of what like a great DM can do. And especially so because you don't have to be great to do that. In the sense that like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not Matt Mercer, I can't DM. This moment had nothing to do with voice acting, had nothing to do with like creating an amazing narrative that people get immersed in. Like it was devoid of all of that. It was just tactile, like fun
mhm,
tabletop gameplay. And anyone
mhm.
can do that. Like anyone can steal that. And that was like some of the most fun the players have had in a long time, I felt like. So like yeah, just repeating everything you said, like an
It
amazing DM
actually,
moment.
yeah, and I love how you said that. I mean, I have in one of my campaigns, the players are like, you know, they're in a cave. Like everyone always ends up in some point,
Yeah.
but this theme keeps coming up on who has dark vision and who doesn't, and it actually made me think like, man, what if I handed out blindfolds to the people who don't have it, like just for
That'd be
this one
cool.
specific instance.
Yeah.
And then I could just steal it exactly. All right, you're gonna have to tell each other.
You should, man. I
But I'm just
would.
thinking like these little tiny things that just can really I love how you pointed that out. Like it really had nothing to do with like building a grand narrative, and it's just creating a fun activity for your players.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Oh,
okay.
show.
Well, let us know what you guys thought about this episode. We'd love to talk about it on tomorrow's live stream, our Pixel Bits weekly wrap up. We don't usually talk about the most recent episodes, so the one tonight, just because some people haven't seen it. I usually don't watch it live anymore. But we will be live tomorrow at 1 Central Time if you want to talk about this episode we're discussing now. Anything D&D related, DMing related, we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Anybody's welcome, and it's just a very low key, fun, half-hour hangout. So definitely check that out, and again, check out our Discord. So
Yeah. Please do. Please join the Discord. That's honestly the best place to come interact. But we do our best to respond to YouTube comments and stuff. So obviously, drop your thoughts there. But for a more like immediate back and forth conversation, the Discord is definitely the place to go. And as a final, well, not to cut you off if you have anything else to say, but as a final little thing, if you're listening to us via podcast, first of all, thank you so much. But we'd love a review if you are a user of podcasts. It doesn't have to be a 5-star, but if it's not, we'll find you. But just whatever your heart's telling you, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts are really great. If you're listening on Spotify, clicking the follow button on the podcast is really helpful, and you can also leave a review on the podcast on Spotify too.
Mm.
But yeah, we appreciate you guys for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And for any YouTubers, if you're not already subscribed, hitting that button helps us out tremendously as well. Bada boom, bada bing. We're also on all the platforms. So if you're an Instagram user, if you're a TikTok user, you can find us there as well.
Yeah, I remember the old days when we used to say the TikTok, and it's like we should probably stop saying that.
You on the Facebook yet?
Yeah, I did have someone say I'm on the book to me.
Oh no!
Like casually, like I'm on the book,
How
and I was
old
like,
were they?
they're older. We're like,
Gotta
yeah,
be
I'm on the
hip.
book. They're like, I'm on the book, and I was like, I kind of paused because I was like,
You
what
on
is
the
he
book?
talking about? And then he mentioned like a Facebook group, and I was like, oh, he's talking about Facebook. I was like, okay. It's like that Mean Girls movie I haven't seen, by the way.
You've wait. I feel like we had this conversation now. You've never seen Mean Girls,
Never seen it,
bro. It's a classic.
but I've seen the meme format of I can't think of the actress's name, where she's like, stop trying to make it happen. It's not going to happen.
Rachel McAdams.
Yes, Rachel
Big
McAdams.
crush of mine growing up.
Super,
and
super
still.
cute.
And still.
Yeah. Ryan Gosling for me, but
Same.
Anyway, that's kind of how I felt. I was like, stop trying to make the book happen. It's not going to happen.
Bro, I don't know if anyone else in our community would care. They probably wouldn't, but we might have to do a Mean Girls watch party just to get you up to speed. It's classic, man. They're
Did they
making
ever
a
make a
sequel, I
sequel?
found out, which I don't know how I feel about that. Don't know how I feel about that.
I don't
But Mean
like
Girls,
how
classic.
maybe we should save this for tomorrow, but I don't like how they take good. I mean, this is just stupid to say because it's like just how it works, but they take good films and they make like a sequel, like to kind of milk it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking like Frozen 2, not so great. But more specifically, Jingle All the Way. When I was trying to get the stream up last weekend,
I saw that
there
too.
was Jingle All the Way too, and I was
had
like,
no
what is
idea.
this?
Was that Larry the Cable Guy?
It was.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Bro, Frozen 2, when the first trailer for that dropped, it was like one of the best trailers I'd ever seen in my life.
I was really
like,
good.
I am in. Like this was like, it was so evocative and beautiful, and I was like,
it was very good.
I'm not even like being hyperbolic. Like I was like, this is one of the best trailers I've ever seen, and then it was such a disappointment.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we're on the same page there for sure.
Felt like I had one other thing, but it escapes me. So
yeah. All right. Well, join us tomorrow, guys, for our Pixel Bits wrap up here on YouTube, and we appreciate you all following along. We'll catch you later.
bye, y'all.